Good evening. I'd like to call the Waterworks Board meeting to order for Wednesday, May 11th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Water Board consists of 3 members, myself, Councilman Kevin Conley, and Madam President Robin Arvanitis. Minutes of the April 13, 2022 public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries 3-0. Claims, any additional claims, Mr. Troxel?
No additional claims, Mr. President.
Move to approve claims.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries 3-0. Reports, Mr. Volkman, any reports?
No reports.
Okay. There's no old business under new business. There's no new business. Any business from the floor regarding waterworks? Any business from the floor regarding waterworks? Any business from the floor regarding waterworks? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned, and we will move into the redevelopment.
Call to order the Redevelopment Commission meeting for Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. The time is 7:09 p.m. I'll add Councilman Johnson to the roll call for the Redevelopment Commission meeting. At this point, I'll entertain approval of the minutes from the April 13th, 2022 public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, passes 4-0.
Mr. President, if I may do the official roll call for everybody, would you mind me doing that now?
Sure.
We didn't do that in the first meeting. Full roll call is Councilman Rod Getzloff,
Present.
Councilwoman Robin Arvanitis,
Here.
Councilman Kevin Conley,
Present?
Councilman Caleb Johnson,
Present.
Attorney David Austin,
Present.
Fire Chief Robert Patterson,
Here.
Deputy Fire Chief David Meyer, here. Police Chief Pete Sormas, here. Deputy Police Chief Steve McNamara, here. Park Superintendent John Novosich, here. IT Dan Jen, Nice Engineering Neil Simstad, here. Public Works Director Andy Hansen, here. Town Manager Robert Volkman,
Here.
Recording Secretary Robin Teal, and Clerk Treasurer Michael Troxel present. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troxel. So we'll keep it with you. Any additional claims, Mr. Troxel?
No additional claims.
All right, thank you. Pleasure.
Motion to pay the claims?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Passes 4-0. Any reports from staff?
No reports.
No? Okay. Council members, any reports on redevelopments?
Nope.
Okay. We have no old business. We have no new business. Any business from the floor? Excuse me, regarding redevelopment? Any business from the floor? Any business from the floor? Step up, please. If you could step up to the microphone and give us your name and address.
My name's Sylvie Garricky. I live in Schererville, Indiana, 6404 West 76th Avenue. And I'm questioning about the redevelopment that is happening through downtown Schererville, as well as any redevelopment that's happening through where the Speedway is. It is, to my awareness, there's several eminent domain cases that is happening currently, and I had no idea how bad it's happening in the town of Schererville, and I'm very concerned for our moral compass of the town that is representing us. And I don't understand why, when we've acquired 51 acres of the Speedway, that the Wilson family, you want 3 more acres of their land. And then I go to the Wilson family, and they said, oh yeah, they're also wanting the funeral home director, Eli, his land. And he told me, you want 6 acres of his land. And then I was told that you've acquired through Nancy Townsend, eminent domain, and there's renters there, that the town, they pay the town for those renters, pay the town their lease to you. You've taken away Scarborough Cafe through eminent domain. Actually, it was a backdoor eminent domain. They wanted to sell to a business, and you would not allow them to. And so then you said, no, we'll buy your land. And then in their case, it stated, he told me that you guys stated that, I'm sorry, I'm a little upset about the situation.
Take your time.
They basically stated that Austin basically had, your law firm had put on there that if you did not file for this, then it would be going through eminent domain. And then basically, then they said that, oh, no, it's not going through eminent domain, but then they were forced in that situation. They had no other choice but to sell the land to you because you wouldn't allow another business to come. And so my question is, you know, there was hearsay that a fire station was going there initially, but now it's economic redevelopment. So I'm trying to understand what type of economic redevelopment is happening there.
Mr. Austin, would you like to clarify in terms of the eminent domain?
I'm going to try. You said a lot of things there, ma'am, so I'm going to try and break them out so they're
Sure.
understandable. Eminent domain is the process a unit of government utilizes under the Indiana Code to acquire land for several purposes. One, and most common, but not only, is the public need, public necessity, public improvement. For example, a fire station. There is
Correct, so is a fire station going right next to here, right next door where the Scarborough Cafe was taken? What's going there?
You're going to have to ask the redevelopment commission about
I'll
that.
answer that for you.
Thank you.
You know, so the town did acquire the properties just to the west of Town Hall. There's no, there's got to be a bid process to happen for an individual or individuals to purchase that property. So there's no really direct plans right now. Yes, we love the
Well, in order to
redevelopment.
acquire through eminent domain, you're supposed to have a business plan. So where's the plan? By law, you're supposed to have a plan.
I don't know that we exercise eminent domain for those properties. No.
So what about, okay, through Nancy Townsend? That's through eminent domain. She told me about it. What's the plan there? In
Okay.
order to acquire eminent domain,
There was an arm's length transaction with Ms. Townsend based upon an offer made as authorized by this council. That offer made was in conformance with the Indiana Code, the provisions for uniform land acquisition offer that are specified in the code, and based upon appraisals.
wait, I'm not understanding what's being built there.
That
So
again
in
is-
terms of what's going to be built,
Because you have to have a plan for eminent domain. What's the plan?
I'm not aware that you have to have a plan for eminent domain,
100%.
Mr. Ross.
You vouch for that because I can read the code.
I think Mr. Volkman has some comments.
Can I answer that? None of those properties were taken by eminent domain.
That's false. I talked with Nancy Townsend today.
I'm sorry, but every one of those was a negotiated buy.
Actually, if anyone would like to see my phone, I have a picture of it being acquired by now the town owns it through her.
The town
Eminent
does, but-
domain. She told me.
I'm just telling you.
She was an attorney that worked for the town. She
I kn-
told me.
I know who Nancy Townsend
I'm
is,
sure you do.
but none of those properties, none of the ones that you spoke of were ever taken by eminent domain.
Hers was the Scarborough Cafe. It was a backdoor eminent domain. You wouldn't allow another business to work there, so they had no choice. They had to sell the land to you. It was backdoor. And I'm very concerned
That's your
about
opinion.
your backdoor eminent domain.
That-
That's what they told me.
There was no eminent domain,
It-
none of those properties, they
in-
were all made by
Okay,
offers
so if
and
I
they were
come here to the
accepted by
next
the
one and I
owners.
bring you their paperwork, are you gonna not, it says eminent domain in their paperwork. He would be happy to hand it over
But
to me.
was there any eminent domain
There
filings
was
on those,
not,
Mr.
but in the
Austin?
paperwork, it was filed. If you do
So
not
either there
do
was or there
this-
was not.
If you do not do this.
Was there an
then
eminent
there was-
domain filed with the courts on any of those properties?
It was a backdoor eminent domain. In the paperwork, it said if you did not purchase
And
it
what-
for this
what is a
price, then we
backdoor
will
eminent
take your
domain?
land for eminent domain.
There was none. You keep using the term eminent domain, there was none.
Was a backdoor eminent domain.
Okay.
And that's what I'm getting at. Furthermore, my other question is why do the members not know that it is my right to have negotiations with the town, and we had no negotiations? Basically, they're telling us to go get an appraiser. By law, you do not have to have an appraiser to have negotiations. I was not entitled to negotiations. Why not? They said, go get an appraiser.
Is that a question, ma'am?
It is, because by law, we're supposed to have no negotiations, aren't we? We did not.
The town,
Mr. Volkman would not listen to us. Matter of fact, he told me to be quiet.
you have met with Mr. Volkman, correct?
I'm sorry, what?
You have met with Mr. Volkman?
Just 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
No negotiations. He would not, he said that my house, my father's house, was vinyl and underneath the appraisal, and it was a brick home, and he looked me in the eye and said that was a fair appraisal. And then he offered us less than what we are paying in assessed taxes. Why is that? Oh, and then I talked to Peggy Wilson, her daughter. Guess what? Same thing happened to them. He offered them less what they pay in assessed taxes. Why is that considered fair? I should not have to pay for an attorney because I'm not able to negotiate with him. That's a problem. By law, I'm supposed to have negotiations. And then there should be alternatives. Where are the alternatives? Why on Eli's land, he said that you guys want his land so that you can have access to Rorman. And you know what Eli told me? He goes, I told the town they could just go through Rorman Park. They own it. They can have access to that land. Why do you already took 51 acres at the Speedway, and it's sitting there empty for how many years? And you guys want more land? Where is the moral compass in this town? I'm embarrassed. I have lived here my entire life. I'm absolutely embarrassed that there's not a moral compass, ethical compass going on that you guys are abusing through eminent domain. Look at all these empty lots going down the street. And it's for what? Economic redevelopment, is that correct? Is that correct?
Fire station.
What about the rest of them?
Are you speaking of the Speedway?
So my father's land is for the fire station? Well, that's interesting, because on part of his lawsuit, it says economic redevelopment. So tell me, what part of his land, and since you served us papers, where is the economic redevelopment? Because there has to be a plan before you serve me. Where is the plan for the economic redevelopment? I want to know what exactly is going there. Because you said, you're telling me a fire station, but my father's papers also say economic redevelopment. So what is it?
Well, a fire station I wouldn't call economic redevelopment because we're looking at.
Well, in his papers that is filed by the court, it says economic redevelopment.
So we are going to address that specific
Okay, so
piece
you
tonight.
have to have a plan before you serve me with those papers. So what is your plan?
The plan for that property would be the fire station.
Okay,
For your father's property.
but there's also verbiage in there that says economic redevelopment.
I didn't write
Where
the
is
papers.
that?
I don't know that,
Well,
why
Mr.
it's
Austin,
there.
you served my father with those papers. This is a meeting about economic redevelopment. What is being done on my father's land for economic redevelopment? You served it. You wrote it.
I did.
There is no
There is
economic
plan is what you're telling me.
redevelopment.
So by law, you should have had a plan, and you don't have a plan.
Ma'am, there's no economic redevelopment planned for your father's property.
But
That
that's not
wasn't-
what my court papers say that was written by Mr. Austin.
And that may be an error.
So then you're telling me you don't have a plan. So at least it's on videotape that.
We have a plan
They
for
don't
the
have a
property.
plan.
It's a fire station is the plan
So my
for the
next
property.
question is, do you think the people of town of Schererville should have a say that maybe they don't want a fire station right next door to their homes? That doesn't make sense.
Well,
Does anyone else want a fire
should have a priority. It's an emergency when you have a fire station, right? Why would you build it on a single lane road? It should be on a main artery. And then the other thing, once again, backing up to the, your ethical, moral compass, there should be alternatives before you go and take someone else's land. My father's 77 years old, and I looked Mr. Tom Schmidt in the eye. I said, you know what, he probably won't be around more than 10 years. You can't wait 10 years, because guess what? That speedway's been sitting there empty for a long time, a long time. And so are all these other homes that you guys demolished. Where is your ethical, moral compass? Why is there not alternatives being done? I don't understand. If I was to get a mediator, and by law, correct, I can request a mediator, you should be able to provide me with alternatives. What is your alternative to building a fire station on top of a hill next to people's homes? Do you think people want to hear that? Do you want to hear it by your house?
I gotta be honest, I don't like the fire station being there, so no.
So there's land all over 30 that's empty. Why? Why are people not considering that? I don't understand.
There were other alternatives discussed.
Yeah, there were.
Really, your last choice should be someone else's property that's for sale, not someone else's home. There's a Kilo case, New London. Kilo, don't you know that one, Mr. Austin?
I'm intimate with it.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm intimate with it. I know the case.
I bet you are. And so here's my question is, land is not, ever since that case, Indiana has put in laws into effect to help protect that, correct?
There have been legislative
That's
changes in Indianapolis.
Fortunately, Indiana is one of them. But for some reason, in Schererville, Indiana, it's being abused. And basically, in the code, it says the public use, the term does not include public benefit of economic development. And that was in the terminology for my dad's court case. And that was in the terminology of a lot of other people's court case, because I saw Mrs. Wilson's court case. I don't understand why we're abusing that here. I'm embarrassed to live in this town, absolutely embarrassed. And I'm embarrassed that you people are not having the moral compass to come together. I don't understand that. Where is your ethical oath? Can anyone tell me what the plan is? Where else, so by law, if I was to get a mediator and you would have to appoint me one, and the town would have to pay for it, what is the alternative?
I'm not certain that's correct, ma'am. And I will assure you, I've had discussions with your father's attorney, and he is aware of all the things that you've talked about.
I think maybe the people should know. Don't you guys want to know where the other possibility of a fire station should go? Across the highway, thank you. Why do you think we want a fire station down here when you just spent $1.3 million in Plum Creek? How much, okay, so you have this grand plan. How much is for this fire station? Because, you know, you've served me, so you have it all on paper ready. How much is it?
The estimate for the new fire station,
Yeah.
we don't have a range in mind right now.
I've already heard how much it is.
Um,
So why don't you come forward? You should know that. If this is a redevelopment, you should know that.
Well, I will tell you that we are rethinking this entire project right now.
You should know how much it is.
A fire station isn't redevelopment, though, ma'am, just.
It's
to be honest.
municipality.
It's
but you have to
municipality.
remember, part of my paper did say redevelopment, so I'm trying.
Yeah,
to
and
let
it
you know.
shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said
It
it.
should not have said that.
You can say all you want. That's what's going to court. So
Well, I think we got to pump the brakes on this project entirely. And we talked about that prior to the meeting. because you raise a lot of good points. You do, and there are other potential locations, and I think we need to rethink this. The last thing we want to do is displace somebody. That's the last thing we want to do.
But that's false because you took Peggy Wilson's land and Richard Wilson's land. You want Eli's land. You took the neighbors right next door to my father. How about Sulak's land that she's trying to acquire?
Your point.
How many other people do you want to acquire? It's a problem. And I can keep bringing up more and more cases. Do you know every day I find out another one bites the dust? Who's next on the chopping block in the town of Schererville? Because someone is. It's not Caleb, because he has law firm there. And he's on the town board. Unfortunately, my father's not. My father used to donate to the police stations all the time back in the day. And he used to donate to the fire station. And you want to know something, but now he's 77, doesn't have a voice. But remember, people, one day you will no longer have a voice either. And I hope somebody stands up for you.
My name is Peter Garricky, same address as my wife, 6404 West 76th Avenue.
You speak into the microphone, speak into the mic.
Thank you. Mr. Conley, I would like to ask you a question based on one of your responses. So you said that you were looking to pump the brakes on this project.
I think we should.
What exactly does that mean?
I think we need to, put definitely a stay. We're going to speak to that tonight. I don't know, Mr. Austin, if maybe now is the opportunity to communicate our intention.
It is the town's position to put the brakes, I'll use that phrase, it's a good phrase, on the proceedings for a period of 60 days. I have communicated with the attorney for your father-in-law.
Yes.
We are going to file pleadings tomorrow in that regard, and it's my understanding that there'll be further communications thereafter.
Thank you. You also mentioned, and I'm not speaking necessarily to you, Mr. Conley, but it was mentioned about looking at alternative places for such a project. Has the corridor along the Kennedy Avenue expansion been considered for that?
We were talking about that before we came out, from our executive session, about a different location. The connection of Kennedy to 30 still hasn't been designed with finality yet.
Sure.
And then I think, what was mentioned, US 30 was mentioned.
Sure.
As a spot for a central fire station. And, our town is growing, and our public safety wants to grow as the town grows, which is why we added the living quarters in Plum Creek, and then on the Burr Street station, and then ultimately why we want to give our firefighter, paramedics, a central station training facility.
Sure.
Because we want the best of the best in our town.
Of course.
Right? So that's the intention. I am not interested in displacing anybody. If we put a stop to this tonight, I'd be in favor of stopping it tonight and rethinking it and starting all over again. Because there are other locations we can consider. I don't want to displace anybody. I think I speak for all of us. That's the last thing we want to do. We talked as well, any consideration for eminent domain, it's got to go through this town council, for a final decision. We do authorize staff, to follow a process. Yes, we'd be interested in that property by the Speedway because perhaps we can utilize that into green space or incorporate that into the overall plan of the former Speedway property. Because we want to, yes, we did purchase that property. Do we want to get a return on our investment for our taxpayers? Heck yeah, we do. But not at the expense of putting something there that everyone who lives in that contiguous property is going to be unhappy with. We want to incorporate green space and, sporting fields. And then, we have enough retail on 41. That's going to happen. But there we have a chance to bring in perhaps a corporate headquarters, right? a nice-looking corporate campus, not, commerce with semi-trucks and retail and nothing of that sort, which is why we are being so slow and methodical in our thought process, because we have one chance to do it right.
Sure.
Only one chance. Each of us have our ideas on what we want there, but we want to make sure, like I said, we do it correctly.
Sure.
When we first bought the property, we provided a survey on our town website saying, hey, what would you like there? Most of the responses, wanted the racetrack to stay there. There are a lot of race lovers. And there was also a lot of false information that, the town made the owner, sell the property to us, and that was not the case. He came to us. He wanted to retire. Again, there was some back and forth. When a municipality is purchasing property, we can't just make an offer. I mean, there's an appraisal process that we have to follow. So I guess it kind of summarized everything, and it's unfortunate it's gotten to this point. It really has.
Agreed.
And I don't want it to go any further.
Thank you.
And I want to do the right thing for our residents. And we all live here too. Yes, we want a central fire station for our firefighter paramedics. They need it. But there's always a solution.
I would agree.
There's always a solution to everything.
I would agree. And I would just kind of echo that statement a little bit differently, and that, as our elected officials, I would expect that you'd be looking out for the interests of the citizens. And I know that is multifaceted, right? So, expanding the fire station to better provide utilities for the town is part of that. But, as you stated, let's try not to displace, one of our loyal residents during
And
the process.
none of us want to do that. That I could speak for everybody.
And I believe, I'm speaking just for myself, the intent when it was discussed about acquiring that property was to approach him, see if he was willing to sell, go through that process, whatever the legal process of trying to negotiate that. And I don't know, I don't know how it got so sideways, truthfully, and it has gotten sideways.
Sure.
But for background purposes, I've been on the council 2 years. This plan, this central fire station location has been around in the works for a decade. It's been talked about, it's been around. There were numerous other alternatives talked about throughout the years. I've even broached other alternatives when we were in as a council meeting. It wasn't economically feasible to do it
Right.
because there were other issues related to those other locations. So this was ultimately what was chosen as the plan.
And I
we
would-
just need to revisit that at this point.
And I would just say, from my perspective, I'm hearing everybody. And these points are well taken. And I'm not just saying that, to try to appease everybody and keep people from coming up here and making comments, because it's good that you're here. This is why we have this process. Okay? I'm not completely happy with how it's gone and kind of where it's taken us. The good thing is, there's an opportunity for us to pivot.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
It's how we harness the opportunity. The past, we can't change.
And please know that was being discussed even before, all of you here.
I'd like to say one thing also for the record. I hear there's like a 60-day something of negotiations that go back and forth. If negotiations aren't met and you can't reach an agreement, we're definitely not going to take your dad out of his house. We're going to have to move and look for other areas and work something else out. So I think you've heard from Caleb, you've heard from Kevin, and from myself. So I don't think that's the problem. I think if the negotiations can't meet what you're looking for, and we can't come up with anything better, your dad is definitely not going to be taken out of his home.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's been decided.
I'm sorry?
That has been decided.
We were in agreement with that before we even started the meeting today.
Okay.
So
You know,
that's something that we want to do.
sorry.
No, near fine.
Social media, I mean, to a degree, I mean, there's some good, you know, truth and communication, but things get so overblown, you know, on social media. And, you know, I typically don't react like, oh, did you hear what's going on social media? Did you hear what people are saying? Well, I want to educate people and let them know exactly what we're doing and what the process is. You know, social media, you can be really brave and put your comments there, you know, and the like, but all of you are here. And I commend all of you for being here in this audience. Because, you know, it takes a lot. I mean, you're taking time, your personal time to be here because you care, you know, about the town. So really points, believe me, well heard and well taken.
Very good. Thank
Okay.
you. One more question and maybe one comment
Sure.
before I depart. Just a matter of curiosity, is there any driving factor behind the urgency for the project? Like, is there some lawful reason, ordinance, requirement that's not being
No,
fulfilled today?
not at all. I think a decision was made, hey, let's move on this now.
Okay.
Okay, we added the living quarters at 2 stations. Let's give our firefighters the facility they deserve and need.
Sure.
You know, we want to attract, like I said, the best here. I guess that's driving.
Sure.
Like if you
No,
want
I can appreciate that. I
that-
just didn't know if there was, like I said, some lawful reason why,
No.
you know, we're not meeting the requirements of the town.
Not at
for
all.
its resources.
No, you're looking at the
Okay.
decision makers here.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I
for the
mean,
clarification.
it stops with us. It starts and stops with us.
Thank you for the clarification. Last one is a comment, and I'm just asking, you mentioned about limiting, like, you know, big retail coming into the area and having more green space and things of that nature. I just want to ask a favor, please, for any other expansions that are going into the area, if we can take into consideration the aesthetics of what is being built, so that we're not having, for lack of better terminology, cheaper quality constructions being put out that just do not hold a more upscale appearance.
Yeah,
You know, take into consideration, you know, developments that are going on in Munster right now, which when you drive by those at the intersection of Calumet and what used to be 45th, those I think are very attractive facilities that are being built. But in the town of Schererville, historically, we've not had any sort of, that I can see, any sort of cohesive aesthetic that's being applied. So again, that's my comment. I would just ask that we take that into consideration.
well taken. Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
So, point of order, so I have to ask one last time if there's any further comment from the floor before I close this meeting.
With regard to redevelopment.
Yes, thank you. Caleb?
Hi, my name is Debbie Sulek. I live at 1702 Anna Street. I'm just to the north side of the parcel, not the Grozek parcel, but there's another parcel there. I'm here primarily because I really don't want a fire station. No offense, gentlemen, in my backyard. I just, you know, I bought the place probably 7, 8 years ago. My son and I live there. I have elderly neighbors next door. I have a beautiful scenery outside my back window. It's very, you know, rural. You wouldn't even know you're in the town of Schererville. I would like, I don't really want a fire station in my backyard.
Okay. Thank you. Any further comments from the floor before we move on to the utility meeting? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the utility board meeting, at 7:42 PM. The roll call will stay the same as the redevelopment commission. I would entertain a motion on the minutes of the April 13, 2022 public meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, minutes stand. Mr. Troxel, are there any additional claims?
No additional claims, Mr. President.
And And I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And reports. Staff, are there any reports on the utility board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make one report. We've been working with our financial consultants in regards to the utility rate tax that the legislative action taken by the state requires reimbursement from that. Last correspondence I had with Ted Summer was that he was looking for clarification from the IURC as to how to implement that. It has some statutory deadlines that are in place. We'll have to probably pass legislation within the next few months to deal with that. Mr. Rosh, I don't know if you have anything to add. I'm sure you guys are dealing with the same thing in some of your other communities. But we have been working on that. And we're also working on our utility rate study that will probably impact our wastewater utilities.
Mr. Volkman, is there any action we need to take as a,
Not currently.
not currently? Okay, thank you for that report. Any other reports from the staff then? Any reports from council?
No.
Hearing none, we have no old business. We do have one bit of new business. Resolution 2022-6, a resolution to transfer funds within a category of appropriations. Mr. Clerk Treasurer.
Yes, Mr. President, as you just read, this is a resolution to transfer funds within a category of appropriations. These funds were not anticipated at the time of the 2022 budget, so these are funds that are being transferred within the wastewater operating and maintenance fund, as described in your sheet.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Any business from the floor with regard to the utility board? Any business from the floor? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the town council meeting for Wednesday, May 11th, 2022 at 7:45 PM. The roll call remains the same as the previous meeting of the utility board. First on the agenda would be the minutes of the April 13th, 2022 public meeting.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Next on the agenda is claims. Mr. Troxel, are there any additional claims?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Next on the agenda is reports. We'll start from my left with Fire Chief Patterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to report that for the month of April, the fire department responded to 266 EMS-related calls, 45 fire-related calls, for a total of 311 calls for the month of April. I also would like to report that our new engine has arrived. We do have it stationed out at Station 3 right now, having all the loose equipment mounted into that unit. So hopefully soon we'll have it on the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assistant Chief Dave Meyer.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Our Police Chief Pete Sormaz.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Arvanitis. On April 29th, we had 6 of our recruits graduate the Northwest Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, and I have them here tonight to introduce them. I'd like to start off with, to your far right there, Cody Gallagher, graduated from the Northwest Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. And also you have Tiffany Beamster-Bohr. Tiffany was selected as our Squad A team leader in the academy. Then next to her, we have Martin Spazuski. Martin also graduated on April 29th, and he received recognition for top criminal law exam certificate. He scored 100% on that criminal law exam. Congratulations, Martin. Sorry, I didn't finish my sentence. And next to him, we have Dennis Jasinski, graduated also. And then next to Dennis, we have Michael Osborne. Michael Osborne graduated with the top academic comprehensive score in the academy out of 42 recruits. So congratulations, Michael Osborne. And last but not least, we have Scott Karras here. He's one of our former dispatchers, also graduated April 29th from the academy. He also received the top recognition award for criminal law exam. They both scored, Barton and him both scored 100% on that exam. In addition to that, Scott Karras received the physical fitness award for the academy. So this was out of 42 recruits, and we commend these officers for their achievements during their time at the academy. And they started working the streets and servicing our community last week. So congratulations.
Madam President, I'd just like to just congratulate our 6 new officers and just thank you for choosing Schererville.
We'd like to
serve.
welcome you.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one more comment. I also see under new business on tonight's agenda is the ordinance prohibiting booting of motor vehicles. Just wanted to share a few experiences the past couple months. Over the past several months, the Sherval police officers have responded to our retail district in regards to tactics being used by tow companies and applying boots to the customers that are coming to our retail district, and some of those calls have turned out to be potentially dangerous. So I just wanted to comment that the Sherval Police Department is in favor of this ordinance tonight and believe that the ordinance would resolve some of those safety issues by these tow companies using these tactics to boot vehicles. And also would like to thank Councilman Conley for working with us initiating this ordinance and moving forward. I think that would resolve our problem in the retail district with the calls for service and maintain the resilience of the retail district there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Deputy Chief Stephen McNamara.
As mentioned in the last meeting, we have our police memorial on May 20th, which is next Friday at 12 o'clock. It's a full inspection of all of our officers on our department. Everyone is invited right here at the police department. Thanks.
Thank you. Superintendent of our parks, John Novosich.
Thank you. Last Friday's Party in the Park was rescheduled due to the weather, and it's going to be held this Friday at Reeder, starting at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Madam President, I'm sorry, just a question. Mr. Novosich, just for the public, would you please provide, since we get a lot of questions on the Tebow Preserve, thanks for the email earlier today, could you please provide for the public an update on Phase 2 and then the plan for overall maintenance of the existing trail?
Yeah, Phase 2 consists of a connection of the 2 existing trails. And that phase has some challenges because we have to go on top of the berm on both the Schererville and Dyer Ditch. There's some maintenance and issues with the berm. In some spots it's washed out. And we had some conversations a couple years ago with the county. They had some scheduled maintenance that was deferred. We're waiting for that maintenance to get done. So we're looking at revisiting that. I have reached out to drainage, Bill Emerson with the Drainage Board to see what the status of that work is going to be from their end. We had applied for a grant last year, but we were unsuccessful. So we've had some preliminary engineering, but we'd have to really look into the project a little bit more and address the the drainage issues that we have out there before we go into construction. Part of that plan was going to include some additional amenities on the north end by the pond, some fishing piers. I know we have some differences in the lake or the pond fluctuation with the water levels that's causing some problems with the existing pier that we wanted to include some more improvements in that Phase 2. That might be something we have to break out if this is going to be delayed a little bit longer, but ultimately we have to go back to the Drainage Board to get their approval, and we have to get approval through the Corps of Engineers in item before we continue with Phase 2. So it's a little more complicated than what we experienced in Phase 1. It's a stone trail, so we're going to have maintenance on it every year. We usually get out and weed and spray for the weeds. That's been kind of a difficult task right now this spring, but we have put some stone out there, and we'll continue to check it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Neil Simstad from Nice Engineering.
No reports, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy Hansen, Public Works Director.
Yes, I have 2 things. First thing, we received a $1 million grant from the Indiana Department of Transportation to repave 40 road segments. We're hoping to get those going this time next year. And we also received a grant for 40 trees from the Little Calumet River Basin. It's about $10,000 worth.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Town Manager, Mr. Volkman?
Yes, I'd like to just, to the Grosick family, and I know most of you are here, and we've met and talked about your dad's property. And Bob, you know, I've known you for years, I've known your dad for years. You know, as I said when we met, I have the utmost respect for you and your family and your stature here. I apologize for any offense that I may have presented in my endeavors to negotiate on your property. I don't want it to destroy a long-term friendship that we've always shared, and hope that that can be maintained. And I did want to reiterate a little bit, you know, the selection of that location in the downtown area was done for a couple of different reasons. First, there was a study done. This goes back to when Joe Cruzan was chief here. There was a study done. I think IU participated in that, and they did a study of response times throughout the town on fire response to our residents. And the selection of that, you know, we have the two stations that are at the far east and west ends of the town to increase response times to those areas. And the selection of a central station was looked at comprehensively because of the Kennedy Avenue improvements that are going on right now with the bridge going on, going to be built on Kennedy Avenue. So there was a method to that. There was a study done, and that was one of the locations that was evaluated. And I'm sorry, you can't hear me? I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
How many years ago was that? You said
It was when, I'm not sure exactly the years. It's probably, I don't know, Bob, I don't know if you can help me out. It was probably 6, 8 years ago. Probably that long ago.
That was on 2012 by Dr. Ferrantino with the Indiana University's.
Right, where they evaluated response times, and that's where those locations. There were other ones. I mean, they looked, trying to move it farther to the west, but you know that created some response time issues. So what they did is they plotted the whole town, and then they put like circles around it, and they planned response time. So that was just a general little area, and the idea of putting it there was it's close access to both going east in town, going west in town, access to 30, access to 41, and also access to what was the planned Kennedy Avenue corridor. That's the only reason. It wasn't highlighting any particular property. There was some open space there, larger parcels. So, you know, we can see, certainly we're always open to looking at other locations. I actually started on that location, gosh, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago. We started discussions on looking at sites. I think I talked to Bob or Tom Schmidt, maybe talked to you or Adam about it, that it was in the targeted area, and looked at that. I talked to people from IPC at that time, and started looking at the different properties. But in no way did we, I think that it would ever get to this level that it would be this much anxiety for everybody involved. And for that, I apologize.
Well, the thing is, we never had negotiations with you, and so neither did the Wilson family. So my concern is.
Thank you for the apology.
I do appreciate that, but in the future for the next family, there should be negotiations, and we had zero.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional reports from any council members?
No, ma'am.
Not at this time.
Next, moving on the agenda, would be public comments regarding agenda items. This would be public comments only regarding agenda items. If you have any other comments, we ask that you wait till the end of the meeting. Are there any public comments regarding agenda items? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Starting with item A, Ordinance 1978, an ordinance annexing certain contiguous land to the town of Schererville, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto. This is the second reading. The petitioner is Brian Lance. Location, 12010 West 85th Avenue, 10300 West 85th Avenue, and part of 10304 West 85th Avenue. Mr. Volkman?
Madam Chairman, this is the final reading of this ordinance for Mr. Lance. This is for a small subdivision that goes off of 85th and comes into the back of Bristol Farms.
Madam President, move to approve ordinance 1978.
Second.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We need the votes on the motion to approve.
Second on both.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, Robin.
Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
We were on a
Thank you,
three-minute
Kevin.
delay there.
Now, moving on to new business. So
No, I think we need a motion to adopt.
we need a motion to adopt.
Okay.
No, we had first reading.
It's done. Okay,
Okay.
That's
that
what
was
I
a lot.
thought. All right.
Second reading.
Second reading.
was 2 months ago.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. So we are finished with that.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to new business. Item A, ordinance 1981, an ordinance establishing a policy for town council members to participate in public meetings by electronic means of communication and all matters related thereto.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
during COVID, of course, we changed a lot of things that we did. When we were on lockdown, electronic meetings were allowed by the state, and then recently the state legislature passed statutes that allowed for participation in public hearings and voting in public hearings by electronic means. This ordinance codifies those requirements in a local form for members of the council to participate or other boards to participate in meetings in electronic form. And it puts standards that we must adhere to. Part of that is technology-based. I don't know that we could implement all of those things at this time because you can't get your hands on the equipment. I've been working with IT Director Jin to implement that plan. He has some theories on how to make it happen, but he cannot acquire the equipment to facilitate that at this time. But we'll have the ordinance on the books in following with this new statute, and that opportunity, as soon as we can implement the proper equipment, will be affronted to all of our boards and commissions.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to approve ordinance number 1981.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
Can I ask a question about this? Is this,
Not at this time.
all right, secret emails are not good.
Madam President,
Yes, yes.
that's not what this ordinance is about. It's concerning the attendance at meetings by members of the town council or any board or commission of the town under the Indiana Code, Title V. That's what this particular legislation is about.
This ordinance allows them to participate electronically, meaning we would have them on
Via
the
Zoom.
screen talking to us from home because town councilman Schmidt is home with COVID, for instance, or something, you know. If he's unable to participate, he would now be able to participate electronically through Zoom or whatever technological means we have available to us.
And I believe you have to see their face. Yeah, so that's an extra verification for you.
They have to see.
Yes, thank you. So I believe we have a motion and a second.
Right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We had discussion, so all in favor, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adopted 4-0. Item B is a public hearing, open to the floor. Ordinance number 1982, an ordinance providing for an additional appropriation in the ARPA COVID-19 fund of the town of Schererville for the year of 2022 and all matters related thereto.
Madam President,
Yes.
would you solicit from your clerk treasurer the verification of proof of the public hearings
Yes.
before you open the floor? And-
Mr. Troxel?
And an explanation.
Yes, Madam
Thank you.
President. Yes, the proofs of publication were both in the Times and the Post on the dates of April 29th and April 27th, meeting the requirements of the state of Indiana regarding the additional appropriations.
Thank you.
These additional appropriations are for the American Rescue Plan Act. These are allowing the funds that we've received already, $3,232,495.91, to be allowed to be spent. And we are following Department of Local Government Finance guidelines, and this is one of the items we need to do, is have a public hearing regarding these items for allowing the additional appropriations to be done.
Thank you. I'd like to open the floor. Nothing? Okay. Moving on to approve?
You may.
Yes? No, oh. Public comment.
This issue, public
Public
comments
comment.
on this issue with regard
Yes.
to the ordinance providing additional appropriations for the ARPA COVID fund.
No comment? Okay, thank you. So we would move to approve?
Did you close the floor, Madam
Oh,
Clerk?
close the floor, I'm sorry. I'd like to close the floor.
Motion to approve, Madam President.
Second.
Ordinance 1982.
Thank you.
In a second?
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt, 4-0.
Madam President,
Yes.
just for the record, what happens now is I need to submit this approval here by this body here to the Department of Local Government Finance. They will review that we met the requirements by law regarding these additional appropriations and issue a confirmation that we can go ahead and move forward.
Thank you.
So I'll be sending it down tomorrow.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, Ordinance 1983, an ordinance prohibiting booting motor vehicles in the town of Schererville, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto. Mr. Volkman.
Yes, Madam Chairman. Recently, we've had incidences where some of the retail establishments have hired a towing company to boot cars in their parking lots that were improperly parked or illegally parked, basically patronizing some other business. And the towing company would then, were standing by when the person would return, they were, you know, shaking them down for all practical purposes to take the boot off their car. They were towing outfits out of Illinois. Hammond, I guess, recently had the same problem. So we've got this ordinance to Mr. Austin. He adopted it or amended it to meet Schererville standards, and this basically prohibits that activity anywhere in Schererville, the booting of a car in any retail establishment.
Madam President, if I could expand just a little
Yes,
background. Thanks, Mr. Volkman, for that background. Shops on Main is considered, a lifestyle center. We want, visitors or residents of our town who want to shop there to be able to, go to one business, walk to another, and walk to another. There was one particular property management company who did start this practice of booting cars. And basically, gentlemen in the parking lot that would confront, somebody. It did happen about a month ago. We got an email from a Munster resident, and our police chief did reach out to the property manager, who had said they were going to stop the booting of cars. And then Saturday, I got a call from a business about 5 of their customers that were booted on Saturday. Just trying to shop at different stores, without the mall. So I spoke with Chief Sormas. Attorney Dave Austin acted very quickly, putting the ordinance together. I'm grateful for the other council members supporting this. We want people to have a pleasurable time as they're shopping and not have to worry about intimidation in their cars getting booted. So very pleased with this ordinance.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Connolly, just for the record too, it was not the shops on Main.
No, it was not the shops on Main. It was, so within the development, there's 2 or 3 different property management companies. It was not shops on Main. Thank you for clarifying me. It was not shops on Main.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 1983.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion?
One question, I
Yes.
guess, Madam President. This prohibits booting but does not prohibit towing, so they can still tow an illegally parked vehicle?
Mr. Volkman?
Yes.
Or Mr. Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Austin, thank you.
Yes.
No other discussion.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Discussion is over. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Motion to adopt.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item D, Resolution 2022-7, a resolution of the Town of Schererville, Lake County, Indiana, approving the interlocal governmental agreement with the Town of St. John, Indiana, and Lake County, Indiana, for the rehabilitation and reconstruction of West 85th Avenue from Alexander Street to Lake Hills Drive.
I will yield to Mr. Hanson.
Mr. Hanson?
Yeah, Schererville's been working with St. John over the last few years to get this section of roadway repaved. We did something similar with Highland and Munster for Main Street. Schererville's portion of the road reconstruction will be $186,000.
Question, Mr. Hanson, we're a fairly small chunk of that roadway then, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Who's handling the construction project?
St. John is handling everything.
The
So
total
we're just gonna
project's over-
contribute to the total project costs, our share.
Yeah, the total project cost is over 600,000.
603,000.
Estimated.
Thank you.
Motion to approve Resolution 2022-7.
We have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Item E, Resolution 2022-8, a resolution of the Town of Schererville, Lake County, Indiana, adopting an American Rescue Plan Act plan and appropriating monies from the Town of Schererville Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
This is a companion to what we just adopted for the American Rescue Plan. This allocates the funding of the American Rescue Plan to the allocation of the spending as outlined by our committee. One of those provisions is the premium pay for our employees, the infrastructure work that was outlined in the plan done by the ARPA committee, and this is actually the overview of the spending.
Thank you.
Madam President, motion to approve Resolution 2022-8.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item F, consider donation to Schererville Baseball.
We have representatives.
We have representation?
Yeah.
Okay. I should have seen the jersey.
You should have.
How's it going?
Very good.
Hello.
Yeah, we'll look at it again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us back. The fence looks great that we did last year.
Name and address, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Bob Rording, 7420 Foliage Lane in Schererville, Indiana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you for having us back again this year. I put together just a small presentation for this year. Within the presentation, I'm trying to show that the league is trying to do infrastructure updates so this facility remains a part of Schererville for a long time. In 2020, we completed a roofing project of all the buildings on the complex. We had to replace a water well in 2021, and then we did the perimeter fencing. So I've only been on the board since a year and a half, so not long, but we're making steps and we're trying to identify everything that we can do so whoever comes in down the road, they don't have to rebuild it, you know, that it's continually growing. You know, it's not going to happen overnight, and we understand that. So we identified resealing the paths through the complex, the main parking lot, and then our concession stand parking lot has to be replaced based on talking to a couple asphalt companies. And then just some field work. We had an estimate on some of our drainage issues that we have and so forth. And then two other major ones are our rookie and minor fencing. The last page is actually a map that shows the layout. So the rookie field runs along Rorman Road, and so does the minors kind of. You'll see how it's kind of leaning, deteriorating. So we've reached out to Reeves again, who did the perimeter fencing. After doing the research on the perimeter fencing, I think we reached out to 4 different companies. They were the best. So as we're getting these quotes, we're all aware of inflation, supply issues, just the increase of these costs. So initially, when we thought we were doing the parking lots, that it would be, I don't know, 40, 50,000. Came in around 80. The minor and rookie fencing we thought was going to be 40 or 50. Came in at 88 and 79,000. So we're here today to hopefully continue building a relationship to keep improving the complex. I put together a pie chart of hopefully the potential funding. The league has approved a $50 add-on fee for our travel players, that those fees go directly to reinvesting into the complex. In addition, we are heavily focused on fundraising and sponsorships. If you've driven by the fields this year, you'll notice there's a lot more signage on our outfield fences. We are identifying some league-wide fundraising. You know, another thing would be to raise league fees. However, if you do that, then people will start looking elsewhere. So 2 of the major components is the reinvestment fee, the sponsorship, fundraising, and then using some of our existing funds. You know, the league does have some money, but we also need to keep our reserve in there in case something like COVID happens again, where we lose out on a full year, because you still have to pay for maintenance, even if you're not getting full registration fees and so forth. So the league is asking from the town almost 50% of this cost of, we identified the parking lots this year. I don't know what your guys' thoughts were after you initially reviewed it. Like I said, we're just trying to better that facility so that it's around forever. That's pretty much all I got.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I'll say this just from my perspective. I don't have a question at this point yet, but I might. First, I appreciate that you want to reinvest, and I appreciate you want to make it better, because I think it has gone for way too long, unfortunately, without that foresight and planning ahead and trying to make it better. It is looking better. You guys are improving it, and I applaud you for that. Just from my perspective, I don't think as a town we're in a position to be able to donate this kind of money to you guys.
Okay.
You are a private organization. This is private property, and we've donated in the past for specific projects and things, but I don't think that I'm in favor of that large of a donation to you guys. It's too much. I do have, I guess, then a question.
Yeah.
When you guys got your estimates for the parking lot, for instance, did you have an estimate? What was to parse it out, so to speak, you know, is it, a certain amount for the concession stand parking lot, the paving of the paths, and,
Yeah, we did. So the main west parking lot, so the concession stand lot, the main quote came in at $45,500 to reseal and patch some asphalt throughout the complex. Was $15,720, and then to reseal the main parking lot was $13,150, and then they had some miscellaneous other items on here, like just like jacking up concrete was like $1,500, but so they did break it out for us.
Well, I think as Caleb stated, you know, we did talk about it, and unfortunately, it is too large of a chunk for us.
Sure.
As you know, you talk about rising cost. Of course, the town pays rising cost in pavement and other things that we need to do to maintain the community. And we always look forward to giving back to the community, especially when it's the children. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we kind of agreed that we would donate $5,000 to the Schererville baseball team.
Real quick, with you guys doing all this other road work, is there, I don't know, anything where we could kind of piggyback off of it? I mean, we would still pay our portion, but there might be a discount because of the mass.
Mr. Volkman, we wouldn't know that.
I don't know that it would give you any difference, because we have to, you know, like the ones we just talked about, the $1 million, that project is bid out to a contractor now. Certainly, when that's bid out and awarded, you're more than free to contact them, because they'll be mobilized in the area, and you might have some savings because they're mobilized.
Right.
Or paving something nearby.
Okay.
And we do have, this year too, the CCMG projects, which are the main street paving projects, we did get a grant last year, we call 2021-2 grant request, and that paving will be done this year. That's almost $1 million too, isn't it? Andy, so, is Milestone doing that?
that's Milestone, right?
Reith Riley is doing that work,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
And then you also have the Pensy Trail, which is, you know, right across the street from you, where they'll be picking up, you know, basically right across from your gate.
Right.
And that's Milestone is doing that project.
Milestone, okay.
So you certainly are free to contact them and talk to their people. They're actually community-minded, both of those companies that do things, and so I would take that same case to them. That's right up their alley,
Right.
so to speak. They may give you some consideration or give you some better prices. I don't know who you got pricing from.
Yeah. We CNB Construction, and then a few months back was actually maybe October, November of last year was Site Services.
Okay, and I believe the original parking lot, the main parking lot, was paved by Milestone. It was Walsh and Kelly at that time, but now Milestone. Both of those companies are very community-minded, and they may help you out too.
Okay.
Give you better pricing.
Sure.
And I know even some of the guys, you know, some of their workers will even pitch in. Companies, they can do a lot for you.
Sure. Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you.
So that was kind of what we sort of agreed upon.
Okay.
The only stipulation is that you would have to use it for the pavement work.
Yep.
So, I mean, it wouldn't be used to, you know, maintain the mounds or the bases.
No, right,
or
right.
painting or something like that. It would have to specifically be used for paving.
Yeah, and I think we would do it the same way. I would talk to Mike to see if he wants to do it the same way with the vendor for painting.
Sure.
So that it's direct with them and all that, so.
Okay. So with that being said, council members, I'd like to make a motion that we give the Schererville Baseball League $5,000 towards the pavement of the parking lot.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item G, consider acceptance of LPA Supplemental Agreement Number 1 between the Town of Schererville and DLZ Engineering for Kennedy Avenue improvements in the amount of $145,260.
Madam Chairman, this is for the Kennedy Avenue Road project. This is a change to the DLZ engineering contract in the amount of $145,260 for property acquisition services. Originally, we thought that NDOT would pick up those costs for us, and we recently had word from them that they will not.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Mr. Conley seconded.
I did.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Item H, consider conveyance of warranty deed from the estates at Bristol Farms Homeowner Association Incorporated to the Town of Schererville, outlots A and B.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
The estates of Bristol Farms had an HOA when it was originally subdivided and formed. The property owners there have owned 2 parcels of land that are part of the subdivision, the 2 outlots in question. They have worked through their board. They want to convey those 2 parcels to the town, basically so they don't have to pay property taxes on it any longer, and they don't really have any use for it. One is part of their drainage system, and the other one is an open area that's designated on the plot as parkland.
Thank you.
Madam President, question.
Yes.
Is this then going to become part of our maintenance program where we have to mow it and parks are going to have to maintain a park now?
Oh, there's no amenities, it's just vacant land. I don't know if it's mowed now. I don't know if we mow that, do we? I don't think so. Yeah, we would, I don't know that it gets, I don't even know if it is mowed. The drainage area, we maintain the drainage facilities that go through the other one outlot now. I don't know that there's any mowing back there. I know there's a concrete pipe that runs through there, and there's a small retention pond that we maintain flow through, and I know we've brush hogged around that time and again.
So we already maintain the drainage and the retention pond and this sort of stuff
Yeah,
already?
and we may brush hog even the park area, now whether in the future the town embarks, because that's an area that doesn't really have any tot lots or anything close by. The park board may endeavor at some point to develop that. I think in the original subdivision plan, there was plans that the developer, Bristol Farms went through the first phase, and then it never went into the second phase. It was sold off. Jim Hawk bought it. And so it's kind of like an island. I don't know what the future holds for it, but they've actually been wanting to give it to the town. They tried a couple of times, probably over the last 10 or 15 years. And finally, Bob Morgan is actually I think, president of the board now. And he's been working, I think he was working with Attorney Ostian and his legal team to get this done.
So they've tried to give this to us in the past. Is this something that we've rejected in the past, or they just
No.
haven't been able to?
They weren't
get
able
their
to pull
board
it
in order?
together on their end of what they needed to do with their HOA.
And what's our liability risk with regard to having now a retention pond that we have access to this thing? Are we gonna be putting signs out? Are we,
No, it's no different than any other one that we own. We maintain it and no additional liability than what we currently have.
Why aren't they continuing to maintain it as a homeowners association?
They never maintained it.
I guess I'm just curious why we want it if they have a homeowners association.
They approached us to take it, and being you know, first off, the park parcel is pretty good sized parcel and is, I mean, it's got some drainage issues, but overall, it's a nice parcel of land. The other one is, it kind of runs behind the properties, on the one street on Bristol Lane. It kind of runs behind on the east side. Most of it's wetland behind there.
Madam President,
Yes.
it sounds like there's some unanswered questions here in regard to the parcel. I guess my suggestion, I could put it in the form of a motion, is that we defer this until we have further discussion.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to defer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thanks, Kevin.
Sure.
Thank you. Next, we have item I. Consider variance of use to allow a used car lot to continue as an existing used car sale lot under new owner and lease, Motorsport Finance Incorporated. Board of Zoning Appeals Case 22-3-5. Petitioners, Motorsport Auto Finance Incorporated and Sandy Almad. Location, 7715 West Lincoln Highway. BZA, favorable recommendation with conditions, 3-0. 1, property will be kept and maintained to the property standards of the zoning ordinance. 2, property owner agrees to paint the building located at 7715 West Lincoln Highway.
Madam Chairman, you might want to consider opening case J as well. They're adjoining properties, just two different addresses, same use.
Okay. Case J, consider variance of use to allow a used car lot to continue as an existing used car lot under new owner and lease, Motorsport Finance Incorporated. Board of Zoning Appeals Case 22-3-6. Petitioners, Motorsport Auto Finance Incorporated and Sandy Almad. Location, 7725 West Lincoln Highway. A BZA favorable recommendation with conditions, 3-0. Again, 1, property will be kept and maintained to the property standards of the zoning ordinance. 2, property owner agrees to paint the building located at 7715 West Lincoln Highway. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Town Council. Attorney Adam Swarden here on behalf of the petitioner, Auto Sport Motor Finance. Just briefly, history of this client. This is the same family that was here a little over a year ago that is in the process and actually has opened the former Hillside Motors location under Northwest Indiana Auto Finance. I know they've got a couple more of the landscaping items there now. They've removed some curb accesses, but this would be another site for them, again, utilizing a location that has traditionally always been a used car lot in the town, even before the change of the zoning ordinance a little over a decade ago. And so they're looking at this location because of some of the size constraints they had at the other location, because they're doing so well at that spot. This opportunity presented itself where the former tenant vacated. They're going to assume that lease, but we still have to go through this process to get the use to continue under the current zoning code. It is a C3 district. The parcels, just for reference, are between the Cummings Landscape and the Luke Gas Station just east of Klein on the south side of the road. And what we didn't know coming in at the first of the BZA was some of the historical concerns with the landscaping in the rear of the buildings, because everything in front of the buildings is a complete paved parking lot. So as part of this process, even before getting full approval, just like they've done at the other site, they've gone through and taken the financial resources that they want to put at this property. They've cleaned up the landscaping. They do have a little bit more to do. There is a detention pond that's in the southeast corner because of how wet it's been, is presenting some challenges for their landscaper to get in there and finish cleaning that up. But really the big issue at this site for the cleanup for the condition was there were a lot of junk cars, a lot of junk car parts, dozens of tires, things that had just been getting dumped there from whenever the former tenant vacated that we were unaware of. And so they've now taken it upon themselves. They've cleaned up that site. All those things are gone. And when we were here before the BZA last month on the continuance, the additional condition was painting. There's actually a little house that's in the middle of the site between the two lots to get that painted. They just received today a quote to paint that building. That is being scheduled, and so they hope to have that done here in the next 6 weeks, weather permitting. So with that, the process that they envision seeing is they have some things that they want to do similar to what they've done at Hillside Motors. They want to come in and and improve the parking lot, condition a little bit, restripe, because right now there's very few designated parking spots. The site plan that was put before the BZA has formally 55 spots in there. They may be able to configure parking a little bit differently given the trapezoid nature of the parking lot, where there's just kind of a lot of dead space. And one of the other concerns that wasn't a condition, but they are going to maintain, is there is another business owner that actually does auto body repair on the far east side in a different building. They're maintaining cross access through that parking lot where they're going to be parking some of their cars. So with that, we're looking for, you know, favorable favorable approval tonight, so they can continue the work and look to hopefully get the business open come July.
Thank you.
Madam President, I have some questions. Attorney Sorden, I was at the BZA hearings for this variance of use, and I had a few questions in follow-up. One, I guess I want to confirm, you know, just for the record, you have power of attorney here for the owner with regard to these improvements and the conditions and things, correct?
Yes, we do, and we had that discussion after the last hearing where the owner was actually at. She's here tonight too, just in case there were any other concerns that came up over ownership for some of the unique pieces here, because the property does have multiple tenants.
I have some other things. I want to make sure this variance, my position is this variance should only apply to this user. Obviously, if they decide they don't like the location, this owner doesn't own this variance, so to speak, and can't use it on the next potential tenant. It's going to apply to this user and in this name, this situation. I personally believe that these improvements might need to be a little bit more clarified on what they're going to do. You indicated that they're looking for, and they have an estimate for painting the house in the middle. What is happening with that garage that's on the east side? Is there going to be improvement to make this garage at least match the other buildings, look like it's built in the 2000s? Anything to maybe make it look a little better and conform with the rest of the lot?
And the building you're referring to is the one on the southeast, it's the auto mechanics business?
Yeah, the garage business.
We had that discussion last month. That wasn't a condition that was placed on there. And given the history of that gentleman operating there, I know he has already cleaned up that property, removed all of his other vehicles. In fact, when I drove by today, he didn't have any vehicles out there.
Well, cleaning up the vehicles is appreciated, but the building itself looks dilapidated and certainly dated. I mean, I think that if we're bringing up the auto dealer building and we're bringing up to standards the center house, I think the third building on the lot ought to also be improved, in my opinion. So that's my one position here. Second, I want to make sure that one of the conditions that we have in this approval of this variance, if we approve it, is that no disabled vehicles are allowed to be maintained anywhere on this premises. I think that, you know, obviously if a car is being repaired at the body shop and it's parked for a short period of time while a part is coming in or something along those lines, fine. But I think that a car dealer and a auto repair, a body shop shouldn't have disabled vehicles and parts of vehicles laying around for extended periods of time. So that's my position on that as well. I don't remember from the hearing, I apologize, but was there a discussion with regard to bringing landscaping into conformance with the comprehensive plan there? Because there's no landscaping really at all.
Yeah, it's paved all the way up to the edge of the right-of-way, so what they were proposing to do was at each of the parking stall ends next to the gates, put planters in there to kind of define that space, because right now when you come into the site from off of Lincoln Way, you can literally turn and, you know, if that's where they're going to park cars, you can turn right into a parked car. So they had basically the stall with elevated planters that they can put out in that paved area to define each of those spaces, and then utilizing that same approach then for the interior parking spaces between the first row along Lincoln Way and then the space between there and the building where they're going to have a designated row of parking as well. And then they were also going to, on the front of the building that they're utilizing, which is a large pole barn building that has the large garage bays, They're doing similar style planters on either side and improving the landscaping between that building and then the building that's also getting painted. So there's actually going to be some screening that's going to happen there too, so that you're not kind of looking into the no man's land between the buildings because the parcel is rather large. So.
All right. And you indicated, you indicated there's 55 parking spaces. Those are parking spaces for cars that are for sale, or that's going to include customer parking as well?
That would include customer parking. So right now, the only parking that is striped there is actually in front of the building, which complies with what they're going to need for employees and for customers. Some of the spaces of the 55, depending on, you know, the volume of traffic they see there, can be flex space. Based off of the volume and kind of where the car market's at, I don't see them having full, you know, they're not going to be using all 55 spaces there for cars for sale.
How many are they intending to utilize for cars for sale?
Well, similar right now to what they have at Hillside, they've got about, I think, 30 spaces, 20 to 30 spaces over there, and then they got the rest reserved for employee parking and circulation. That's where they're going to start right now until they see the volume that they get to do at this location, and then, again, trying to maintain enough that they need for peak hours of customers kind of coming in and out, and then up to the 4 employees they may need to have at peak times, which they have those spaces currently. So that's kind of the plan. I think the market's going to have to dictate a little bit at this location, just given the ability that they have to do some double stack parking spaces to move cars around. So that way they need to dedicate some more spaces between the front strip that's at 30 and then between the buildings that they're improving, they have the ability to do that.
All right. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Sir, can you tell me, so the cars that are for sale, how long will they remain on the lot? I mean, is there a time span before they will move them out?
So their model that they have, again, Hillside's a good example. They've got other locations in Porter County. Their cars do not sit long. They have a model down where they know what customers want any given time. They're getting those cars that move quickly. I don't know what the average turnaround time is, but I'm by each of their sites at least every 3 weeks. Every single car up front's different.
Okay.
I know at times they've had some kind of unique vehicles, some larger SUVs and trucks that they've stayed there a little bit longer, but right now there's a huge demand even for trucks and they're moving fast.
And the model years, I mean, is there
They're all, yeah, they're all newer range models. I mean, prices range anywhere from $15,000. They've got some vehicles that are upwards of 20, higher 20,000. I think last time I was by Hillside, I mean, they had a Range Rover over there that was a newer model. So really, they're kind of catering to what is based off their location, because Schererville's market is a little bit different than Valparaiso, Porter County, Portage area's market, different from their Maryville location. I don't see there being a big difference between the market product that's over at Hillside right now, which is actually even a higher end than what they're going to be doing over on the east end of Schererville, because you're talking about the same corridor, the same type of traffic that they're going to see as people go by this new dealership location.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get the clarification on the building that Councilman Caleb was talking about. Is there going to be any work done on that building?
There wasn't a plan to. As far as the concern with what he does from a business over there for auto repair, that he's been there, gosh, I think 20-some years. I don't know if he's got a special use for that location, but I think his use as far as auto repair is permitted as he's doing it in C3. But obviously the issue of him keeping all of these parts and things on that portion of the property closest to his building was an issue that we've cleaned up. I know that the owner has talked with him about that. I'm not privy to his lease terms, but as far as any of the parts and things that were getting dumped where my client's going to primarily be operating, once they're in there, that's not going to happen, because it's going to be lit, they're going to be there doing business, they're going to have security cameras like they do at all their other locations, so they're not going to continue to have, really what the issue was with the site was it just being used as a dump site.
Okay, thank you very much. No more questions, Madam Chair.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance of use to allow a used car lot to continue. This is item I and item J. incorporating the findings of fact and conclusions by the BZA, as well as the two conditions that the BZA proposed and placed on this approval, which were property will be kept and maintained to property standards of the zoning ordinance, and two, property owner agrees to paint the building located at 7715 West Lincoln Highway. I propose to add additional conditions that these variances of uses allowed only to this user, one, or maybe that's number 3, if we're adding on to the existing list. Number 4, that all improvements proposed would be completed within 6 months, proof to be provided to our planning and building department. Number 5, no disabled vehicles or parts to remain on the premises longer than 7 days. Number 6, no vehicle repairs to be made on the premises other than performed within the garages. Number 7, landscaping to conform with our comprehensive plan and as represented by council here today. And number 8, that the garage that's on the east side of the buildings, I'm not sure what address that's on, but there's 2 different addresses. That garage needs to be brought up into conformance with the center house and the building where the car dealership is going to be housed. That's number 8. That's all my conditions that I have. Are you in a position to agree to those conditions?
Well, I have a question on the current mechanic location. When we're stating the improvement that needs to happen there, what is it specifically? Is it paint? Is it because I can't knock the building down. He's a tenant. He's been there. He's operating. He's got a lease. He's not violating any terms of the current zoning ordinance by right. So I guess we need to be very specific on that garage and what is being asked, because to me right now, I don't know what you're really asking as far as that condition.
I guess my proposal would be that at a minimum, that it meets a facade appearance in equal quality to the dealership building and the garage. So whether it's vinyl siding and soffits and fascias and a new roof on it and a new garage door, okay. If it's painting that is able to bring it up to that standard, I don't know what exactly is necessary to bring it to that standard, but I believe when I drive by and I see 2 buildings that look fairly decent and one that looks really poor, I'd like to see them a little bit more uniform and certainly in better condition than it is now.
Okay, my name is Sandy Alamad. I'm just confused. That's why I'm here. I mean, are you talking about, because we have this building, which is the one is gonna be the dealership, which is the bigger building, and then we have this house, and then there's another house behind it, like it look like a garage thing, and then there's a garage that is owned by somebody else, that is somebody else leased, that they're doing business there. Are we talking about the 2 building, the one next to the dealership, those 2, the house and the one behind it? We're not talking about the actual garage, the one it's running by some other people, right?
I'm talking about all the buildings on these 2 lots, in my opinion, need to have the same quality of appearance when I drive by.
Okay. See, when we have a proposal already here to paint those 2, which is when we talk on the BZA, to paint those 2 houses, which is the house, the one next to the dealership. It's like there's a house, and then behind it there's something else look like a house too. Those 2, we have we have a proposal showing that is gonna be painted. Now, for the person that is in there, which is the guy that he's already leased from the landlord, which is the one he's already in business now, running that business, I don't know if we can get him involved in this to go paint his building or do something about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I cannot come to him and say, hey, I need to fix your building to make it match what I'm renting, because if I'm renting those both addresses, yes, we are taking care of the two buildings on the one side and the main building. I don't know about the person that is already in there, if I can do something about it. That guy is leasing.
Are you the owner of the property?
No, the owner of the property is there.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's.
You're the dealer?
Yes, I'm the
Okay.
dealer. Just like I told you, I mean, yes,
Your name
I'm
is?
willing, I'm
Your
willing.
name is?
I'm sorry, my name is Sandy.
Sandy?
Okay. I'm willing to do everything I can, just like we did at the Northwest Indiana Auto Finance, which is the one on Janus and,
US
on
30.
Route 30. I'm willing to do everything I can. It's for everything, for the business, for everything. I'm willing to do anything I can to make it look better, for sure. I mean, even if I don't have those conditions, I will still do it, believe me. Because we have another location in Valparaiso that I don't even have to attend a BZA meeting or anything, but it still looks the same as the one in there. So this is all gonna be okay. That's the only thing I wanted to understand, if you guys want us to get involved with the mechanic.
Those are the two buildings that I think look like. That's the landscaping company.
And Mr. Johnson, I think just for clarity's sake, so I don't want to be confused here, the building that you're talking about is actually a very small old pole barn that's metal. So, you know, as far as what can actually be done other than maybe painting that building, the only other option they have, because the whole front of it is literally one giant sliding door with a man door for going into the side entrance. I mean, I don't know what else you can put on that building to make it look better than what it is, other than cleaning it up and painting it to maybe match the paint scheme that they're gonna put on the other building that's used for storage.
Hi, I'm Mary Kay Lepore, the owner of the property. Excuse me. The two buildings are going to be painted. We have a proposal right now with it. And any repairs on those two buildings, the little house, and it's a little two-car garage. They are going to be painted tan like the car lot, you know, the office.
So the two-car garage, is that the building that is on the east side of the property, north of the big pole barn? I'm not talking about the big pole barn. I recognize there's a big gray pole barn in the back, and it has a big garage door in the front. There's a building in front of that is looks like a white or gray little shack. That's a house? It has two garage doors in the front of it.
They call it a house, but it's really just another small pole barn.
And that building is being improved? That's planned to be improved currently?
The mechanic shop is the furthest building to the east.
He's in the big pole barn?
Yes. that's
So the building that's in front of it, between the pole barn and the US 30, is a little two garage door, little white shack. What's happening with that building?
I'm sorry, I wear hearing aids, so it's a little hard to hear with the air conditioning on. Yes, it's gonna be painted, it's a little garage. Those two are gonna be painted.
That building is being improved, and the house in the middle,
Yes.
gray house in the middle.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure, is that all of these buildings that are unsightly currently are being improved as part of the plan. Part of the plan is to improve all the unsightly buildings that are on the premises.
I'm sorry.
He's asking if you're gonna improve both the storage building and then that little garage shed that's in
Right.
front of the other pole barn.
Yeah.
All right,
So that's, I guess, gonna get painted.
okay.
Like I said, we have a proposal already to get started, but because of the weather.
It's pretty ugly. I put my conditions on there. I mean, it has the improvement of that building as one of the conditions. So as long as that's what the plan is and it'll be completed within 6 months, then I'm good with the plan.
Yeah, it will be.
So do we have a motion?
Is that your motion?
That's your,
I made the
that's your motion?
Yeah, that was my
With all the
motion.
conditions? We have a motion?
All the conditions.
So we need a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Madam President,
Yes.
that would be for both of
Item-
those petitions.
Item I and item J.
Right. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Are we okay? Yeah, we're okay. Okay. Okay.
There's a lot of stuff going on over there in that southeast corner.
I know.
None of which they're using, so, can only do so much with really old buildings.
I recognize that.
And I can't tear them down.
But you could put a facade on it.
Okay, moving on. Item K, consider variance of use to allow construction and operation of a 16,402 square foot indoor climate-controlled pod storage facility to be operated within the US 30 Commercial Corridor Overlay District. Board of Zoning Appeals, case 22-4-8. The petitioners, U-Haul Company of Northern Indiana and South Cook County, Rick Rottweiler, Area District Vice President, and Craig Wilson, Marketing Company President. Location, 5048 West Lincoln Highway. BZA, favorable recommendation, 3-0. Hello.
Hey, Madam President, Town Council members. My name is Mike Cook. I'm representing U-Haul tonight. This is Mr. Rottweiler, Mr. Wilson. We're here before you to request a variance of use for the subject property on US 30 at 5048. Currently, we're focusing on the west third of the site. Right now, back in 2015, U-Haul was before this council to get another variance of use for warehousing and truck and trailer rental leasing and vehicle storage on the property. We're coming before you now to improve the property on the west side by constructing a 16,402 square foot indoor climate controlled pod storage facility that basically creates opportunities for either people moving in or out of the community, that basically creates drop-off components to their driveway where they would load up, and then it would be taken off to a facility like this where it would be stored for a period of time, either coming in or out of the community. The location where it's at is within the US 30 Overlay District. The BZA meeting that we were at back in April presented it's approximately 48 feet tall. We're going to basically take down 2 of the 3 buildings that are on the west side to relocate the existing operations of the facility. Right now, there's a building that kind of operates the maintenance, or not the maintenance, but the leasing operations in the office. That's going to get moved into an existing building that's been vacated. And then the 2 buildings on the west side where this building's going to be at will be raised. And we're here before you to answer questions or any other things that you guys have on the site.
I have a question, Madam President. When the pods are picked up, delivered, is the receiving and pickup done at the rear of this new building or in the front of the building right on 30? Follow me?
Thanks. Rick Rottweiler. So we have a flatbed vehicle that comes into the facility. It would drive up in between both the proposed building and our proposed showroom location and unload at that spot right there, and then just forklift the pods into the facility through the front of the building.
Mr. You're referring to how the pods would get delivered to the facility? Right
Yeah,
now?
if it's visible at the very front, you know, as you...
We have it in the front because the maneuverability of the site of where it's at, plus there was some concerns also that was brought up at the BZA meeting of residents on the back side to have it on the opposite side or north side. But right now, the plan shows it with the loading area on the south side of the building.
Thank you.
I have a question, Madam President, maybe a couple. Gentlemen, I drive by that facility quite often. I live near there. You have a lot of trucks and trailers already present on the premises with the big U-Haul sign. Where are those trucks and trailers going to be located now that you have another operation of loading and unloading these pods and this giant building?
My name is Craig Wilson. Those trucks that are currently there, those trucks move around a lot. We actually can control the volume of trucks and equipment in that area. We have another facility in Schererville, and we have another facility in Glenwood, Illinois, where we were allowed more drop-offs. Those trucks that are currently on the front of that premise would be off to the side further, and it wouldn't be that many trucks that are currently there.
Off to the side further where?
In front of the second warehouse across from where the new one would be the new one would be built.
So they would be in front of the building to the east, the
Yeah, we
new
would-
showroom? Is that what you mean?
Yes, off to that would be the east of the showroom.
So that parking lot is going to be full of trucks. Where are customers going to come in and park then?
In between the two buildings that are in between the one building that's currently there, which would be the showroom, and then the building that we would construct. There would be customer parking there, right in front of the showroom.
And is the new building you said is 16,402 square feet? That's a single giant warehouse.
Yes.
Is that my understanding correct? Yes. So, what's the dimensions of 16,000 square feet? 800 times 20?
163 by 8 by 106.
And that's 40 feet tall.
Yes.
Already on the premises, you have how many storage buildings?
We have the two warehouses, and then there is 12 buildings. Yeah, 8 storage buildings.
And there's like an access road on the south side of the premises that appears to me to be constantly full of the U-Haul trucks as well. Is that planned to continue, the parking of trucks
No,
along
not at
that
all.
access
Those,
road?
Not at all. Those trucks actually, within the last month, occupied that current space.
And
So no, they would not be there.
That's a temporary situation,
Yes.
you're saying? What is the number of trucks and trailers, portable vehicles and trailers that you plan to continue to maintain on premises on a day-to-day basis?
So regularly, the equipment that would be there, that location has is 15 pieces of equipment.
15 or 50?
15. That's trucks. Then the trailers and the other one-way equipment is transient, so it moves in and out all the time. But we're probably talking about 10 more one-way trucks.
Essentially, to clarify, we have a few pieces of equipment, like Craig said, about 15 that we designate on site for what we call local rentals, basically moving within the community. Somebody's just moving down the street, they're moving to another neighborhood, and those are what we plan on being there. We have an additional fleet that we call a one-way fleet, basically that can move between facilities, between states. Occasionally, when we get busier, we do have an influx of drop-offs to that location, which we then reroute and redistribute that equipment throughout to our other facilities. So we have a whole system essentially that can allow us to set lot limits on that property. And occasionally if somebody's going to drop off that we didn't plan on dropping off there or wasn't scheduled to drop off there, we'll accommodate them and then later redistribute that equipment back out to other areas.
I'm shifting gears all over the place, I apologize, but they're random thoughts that just kind of bounce around in my head. The flatbed truck that is going to be delivering and picking up these pods or these storage containers, who operates them?
We have a local driver that operates our equipment that delivers to the local area. The ones that come from other areas, that would be operated by drivers from other companies.
So this is a professional driver that you hire as a contractor to come in and move those pods for you?
Yes.
And he also drives around the other vehicles, the storage trucks that you guys have on premises
No.
from location to location? Maybe I misunderstood, okay. In these flatbeds, how big is this? Is this a dual axle dump truck size vehicle, or what is it?
We have one vehicle that's a 5-box truck, and then we have another that's a 9-box. And those are, one is like a semi, but it's smaller than a semi, if that. Yeah, it's a tractor and trailer, but again, one is 6-box and one is 9-box.
And that's gonna be coming in and out of that facility how frequently? How often does this happen, that boxes are being dropped off or picked up?
Well, it depends, because our product is storage at your door. So you can actually utilize one of those U-boxes, and it might be delivered for home renovations to your house for a week, a day, 3 weeks. Or you could be moving from here to Texas, and we would deliver it to your house. It would never go to that facility. It would just be picked up, delivered. It would be picked up and then taken, across country.
Texas, right.
So some of them, it's hard to say, because it's not every day that, we get deliveries. And then sometimes it's, the drivers come in the morning and they go out and, they come in the morning and then come back in the evening.
Okay.
So it's not like it would be like hundreds of deliveries a day or,
How many pods are you anticipating storing at this facility, max storage?
800 to 1,000.
So theoretically, you could have 800 to 1,000 of these pods stored there, or you could have
50.
50, because 750 of them are out on sites.
Yeah.
And all those have to be carried out by one of your trucks.
Yes.
And are there times, does it stop, or is it 24-hour, or?
Our business hours are 7 to 7, and on Friday we're open till 8 p.m., so not 24-hour operation.
But these trucks will be operating from all business hours, 7 to 7, or are they going to be dropping off at 5 a.m. when they get into town?
No, it'd be business hours. There would be no trucks parked on the premises, overnight, or semis running throughout the night or anything like that.
So the guys that come in from Texas, for instance, and they get in at 5 a.m., what do? Drive around in circles till?
They'd be at the truck stop, not our property.
Not on your property.
Excuse me, they actually have to schedule the deliveries with us through a corporate office. So we try to stagger those things. We don't obviously want an overflow. Like I said, they do have to be scheduled, and then for our local deliveries, they're for residential movers. So most people, by and large, are going to want these during a Saturday while they're at home. They have the day off to pack and load their things. We just went over today, the customer care reps that deliver our boxes here are actually on a schedule between 9 and 5 at current times. So we don't anticipate, we don't even operate before 7 o'clock, right? So it's mostly during the day.
So 9 to 5 is generally when this would be happening.
Yeah, and then for incoming shipments, we cut that off at 4 o'clock across the board.
why can't you handle these deliveries on the side of the building or somewhere other than right on US 30, right in front of the building?
On the side of which building?
Well, there's a side of that building, west or east side, I'm not sure which is more, favorable to you guys, but the south side of the building faces US 30. It's right there next to US 30. I believe the plans, I don't know what your setback is, but you're no more than 100 feet off of US 30 there. Why can't it be handled in the south or the northeast corner of the building or somewhere that's a little bit off of US 30?
It has to do with the layout of the building and how we try to maximize it. There's essentially a hallway down the middle of it where we stack on either side. And then also, in addition to the logistics of how the building's laid out, when the truck's coming in and backing up there, we're trying to minimize it from going across customer areas. We want ease of access for that, and that it's not going to jam up the rest of the operations of the facility. So the way that it's drawn right now, in our eyes, is the best way for that truck to actually access the facility and minimize driving across any areas where customers would be walking or, driving by any other customer vehicles or anything.
But all the customer vehicles are gonna have to drive in past where this unloading process is happening in order to get to your showroom and sales office, right?
Yeah.
Or am I
So
misunderstanding?
the customer parking is going to be in front of our proposed showroom, and then the semi-truck, where the truck would pull in, is going to be off to the other side. So essentially, that's going to keep the customer vehicles away from the semi-truck.
But in front of your showroom is where all of these trucks are going to be parked so that you're, getting ready to lease out. That's what I'm trying to get at
I
is.
think the truck parking and the leasing is gonna happen on the south side of the building. The one that's getting remodeled, with the southeast side. And then the showroom space on the west side of that will be or customer parking. And what we're trying to minimize is having semis driving further north to conflict with the customer parking on the west side of the showroom area. Now, they're gonna have to go past the truck, but the movements of a passenger vehicle is gonna be a lot easier than it would be if you're putting a 60-foot truck coming back and forth along where those customers are at.
Essentially, with this area here, the vehicle's going to be able to come in, not go into any of these lanes and not touch any of the customer parking here. Pull up, go right back, and then come right out. So our customers will still be able to park in these areas, and then we'll have our equipment. These are designated areas for our rental equipment. So that's how we have it laid out, to keep this from having to go in here or go across traffic and then back in this way.
Well, I understand. Gentlemen, I'll be honest, I'm not excited about the plan, so I'm just, I'm one vote, I'm one voice, but I'm not excited about the plan. I think it's a large facility that you're adding, with an unknown, in my mind, amount of truck traffic coming in and out of there, in addition to the already pedestrian truck traffic, because you got people coming in off the roads renting these giant trucks to move their stuff around town or across country or dropping their kids off at IU already. The amount of traffic going in and out of there, the improvement likely would help the look of it. Adding a new building, remodeling the sales offices would likely add a new flair to it. But I'm not excited about having the amount of traffic and the truck traffic particularly right there, right in front of everything, right on US 30. So that's my voice, my one vote.
I'll say it's my concern as well. The appearance, the welcome to Schererville, and, having this facility there in terms, it's the first thing they see. There was a comment brought up tonight just about aesthetics. going forward. So that's my pause with this project.
Okay, so do we have a motion at all?
Caleb?
I would make a motion to deny the variance of use to allow construction and operation of a 16,402 square foot indoor climate-controlled pod storage facility. Board of Zoning Appeals case 22-4-8, despite the favorable recommendation, because I don't find there to be any presentation of a hardship with regard to this property. I feel the safety and welfare of the public are hurt by adding the amount of traffic and facility. And just overall, I feel it's a detriment to the values of the properties in the neighboring areas.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0 to deny.
Sorry, John.
Thank you. Item L, consider approval to extend Families First Coronavirus Response Act, FFCRA, which expired April 30th, 2022, to compensate up to 80 hours paid leave to employees that are off work due to COVID-19, retroactive to May 1st, 2022, and expiring July 31st, 2022.
Madam President, move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Item M, award bid for HVAC system for the Police Department Town Court Building.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Volkman, did you have anything to add?
Yes, the award the contract to Quality Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $478,600.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? No? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Item N, consider acceptance of the conveyance of property listed to the town of Schererville for the Penzie Greenway Trail, including 8781 Calhoun Place and 8787 Calhoun Place.
Second.
Mr. Volkman, do you have anything to add?
These are for the Penzie Trail project that we're currently embarked on completing this year.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. With that being the end of the agenda, is there any business from the floor?
One. Come on up. You are very patient.
My name's Laura Latziak. I live at 8944 Matthew Street in Crown Point, but I'm zoned in Schererville. A code enforcement officer, he was very kind, but he came to my door yesterday and told me that I needed to get rid of my chickens. I just keep a few hens. They're very clean and very quiet. So quiet, in fact, that the woman who actually filed the complaint, I've had them for over a year, and until I put a sign on the barn that had a chicken, she had no idea they were there. I did write something. I have some suggestions. I'm willing to comply if nothing changes, but I did want to just make some suggestions for maybe improvement to the complete ban on owning chickens. I said instead of an outright ban, I'd like to suggest that they be allowed but maybe regulated in the same way that cats and dogs currently are, in that they need to have adequate coop or run space for the number of chickens that you have. Limit the number of hens that one family can own, and they have to be bought at least 4 at a time. So maybe 8 or less hens per family. No roosters because of the noise. Of course, the enclosure should be kept clean and regularly maintained and not be a nuisance. And food stored in lidded containers to eliminate any possibility of pests being attracted in. A lot of my neighbors would like to have chickens, and we share eggs with them. So there is a lot of interest, and most people don't seem to mind. You can be standing in it, and you don't smell anything. There's no smell, there's no noise. We use the eggs, and they're great pets for my kids. They eat harmful bugs like ticks and mosquitoes, so they cut down on pests in the neighborhood. They increase family and neighborhood food security by supplying eggs to not only the chicken owners, but their friends and neighbors at a time when groceries have gotten particularly expensive for a lot of people. So I just wanted to put that up here for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question before she goes? Just one. These chickens, they were your children's chickens?
Yeah, we moved here a little over a year ago, and we lost our daughter to brain cancer a few years ago, and we didn't have any pets before then, and we also lost my stepmom just a few weeks ago, and a couple months ago, and she kept chickens, and it was something that was really special between her and my family, and I'm sad. It's sad to have to get rid of them. I understand if I do have to, but we're in the Midwest, and our history is agriculture. It's good for kids to see where food comes from, and it's a little sad that it's come to a time where it's illegal to have a little self-sufficiency. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For clarification purposes, my understanding from Sam DeCero, Mr. DeCero, is that she was not ordered to remove the chickens, that she was issued a warning, is all. And I believe that it is to some extent, and the reason I think that she's here today, it's for us to decide what we want to do with these chickens, because
We won't be able to do that tonight, I mean, because we would have to create an ordinance if
Right.
we wanted to make it, acceptable for chickens.
I guess my thought was, I agree, Rob, I know. My thought was that as a temporary means, maybe we could provide her with a stay, so to speak, of enforcement until we can make a decision one way or the other. Or maybe we can grant her a limited variance of use for a short time, or something along these lines that maybe can avoid her having to get rid of her daughter's chickens.
No, I agree, I don't think she needs to, I mean, myself, I don't feel she needs to get rid of the chickens immediately. I just think if,
Right.
say yes to you, then we have to have some type of ordinance that backs it up so that everybody, whoever wants to have a chicken in their house or outside, is allowed. So,
Right.
that's all I'm saying.
Dave,
Madam
thoughts?
President,
Yes.
to Caleb's point, perhaps it would be better for you to direct Bob and staff to withhold continuing enforcement pending review, research, process, and then notice.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't aware of the ordinance.
No,
So we have to do some educating. Basically the way it reads now is you'd have to, anyone who wants to raise chickens, they ask for a variance of use. You have a chance to present, why, they make a recommendation to us, and then we act as a council. But you didn't know.
this is my first
Yeah,
town
you
hall
had
meeting.
you had no idea.
I had no idea.
As a matter of, I guess, completeness then, I would make a motion that we instruct staff to withhold enforcement until us as a council can evaluate this, or she can apply for a variance of use on her own part, and then go through the process. And if it's granted, it's granted. If it's not granted, it's obviously it's not granted. But I think that that's our motion here today, to withhold the enforcement until you can go through that process, or we can adopt an ordinance one way or the other.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 4-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any other business from the floor?
Good evening, everybody. I know we've been here a long time. I'll make this quick as I can. It's come to my attention that the town has received proposals. A few months ago, we listened to some residents of Elizabeth Drive complaining about speeders on their street. The first thing I'd like to say is what I listened to that night was grossly overstated. I've lived in that neighborhood for almost 20 years, and I've very rarely seen anybody using Elizabeth Street driving at the rates of speed they described. My opinion is that the use of speed bumps to slow down traffic doesn't work. When you have speed bumps on streets, the people that are speeding tend to hit the gas harder in between the speed bumps to make up the time they lost. The same is true with putting stop signs at intersections. The City of Kansas City Engineering Department has done a study that supports this. I don't believe that these speed humps are a viable way to slow down traffic. There's only a few offenders. I believe that the police department should be searching these out and doing something about them and not inconveniencing every citizen in town that uses the streets. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Is there any other business from the floor? Seeing and hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.